All right. Hello, hello. Um, I am just making sure that everything is set up properly. Welcome to the stream. Um, and I want to make sure I mute you. Okay. Yeah, well, this is basically like my very first stream. I used to stream a lot in 2020, but that was more just like me playing video games on Twitch, and I wasn't really that good at streaming. And then I tried streaming on YouTube once. It did not go well, and 4 years later, here I am. Um, all right, I just want to make sure everything looks good. Looks like we have John and Bruno in the chat. Hello, hello. I hope you don't mind me still figuring everything out, but I actually have this cool thing that I can do where I can show your comments on the screen. And this is all in OBS for anyone that does live streaming. Anyway, so the whole point of me going live is I really want to approach YouTube in 2025 as just like more personal, as just more um, relaxed. I think the shift I've done in my channel over the past year is something I'm gonna make a video about probably before the end of the year. But I really just wanted to do stuff unfiltered, unedited, all just live. Um, we got Willie B from Tennessee. I like that that rhymes. But I'm really, really excited to have some people here. Thank you for joining, seriously. But yeah, the main goal of this, and I think this could probably be some sort of series, is I'm gonna take you through whatever it is I'm working on. It's not gonna be perfect. It's not gonna be, polished the way I think a YouTube video would be. And it's gonna be a lot of me exploring. Uh, just trying to figure stuff out for myself, and hopefully um you know hopefully you can take away stuff. You can learn from the mistakes I make and see what you want to do, see what you don't want to do. um and that's really the goal. And now the purpose of this specific stream is that I want to expand on the Musio template that I released for free. um John, I agree. Yeah, let's make composer live streams more common. And this also just reminds me that there might be some sort of delay between comments and you know actual live stream. But yeah, so if you saw my recent let's build a Musio template for free video, I wonder if I can even show it. I wonder, well, not show it, but let me just like bump this over here and then let me desktop. Let's see. Does that work? Kind of. It kind of works. It's fine. I have a why I'm building my full orchestral template with Musio, and this is basically just like I wanted to streamline a template, and I specifically wanted to use Musio. Um, One, I absolutely love Musio stuff. I love the team. I love working with them. This is not sponsored in any way. Like, again, they don't know that I'm doing this. They didn't sponsor me to make the template or anything. We have a good relationship, and they spread the word about it. But you also can download the base template for free, and this is something that you can also do. I think in this chat as well. Yeah, so we're back on me. So if you want just like a base template to start with, it's very simple, like it's not going to have all the bells and whistles. Then it's available in the description, along with like other sources, resources that I offer, but that's not the point of this video. Um, so the reason why I wanted to then go live is I asked a lot of you, like, if I were to make a more expanded version of the template. It was like roughly like 75-25 people percent of people wanted would purchase, would buy, would be interested in just like a full in-depth Musio template. And that's where this comes in. Let's see if I can bring back Logic. Again, this is Logic specific. So, hopefully if you don't have Logic, you can still take away, concepts. But ever since then, I've been kind of expanding on it, the free template that I offer, and really diving into what Musio has in the catalog. Um, I think before it was kind of just winds, right? And then you just had your piccolos, flutes, oboes, clarinets, and bassoons. And that's kind of what we see. But now I'm trying to like really go into folder structure. Logic has updated where now I can have more folders than I'm used to. So you'll see like I do flutes like piccolo from Cinewinds, flute legato, flute longs, flute shorts from Cinewinds, but then I also include the Gina Luciani cinema flutes, which let's just play it. This is the first thing that like made me really excited. Let me know if you hear that. Oh, that is so good. That is such a good flute. Like it's just so lush, warm. Like I absolutely love, Cinewinds is also my go-to, but it's just mixed differently. It's mixed differently. It's a different sound, and it's also great, but I think the Gina Luciani's flute is going to be my go-to. And as you can see, let me see if I can go into the actual library itself. It has just every option of flute that I would need. So, actually, except for piccolo, it doesn't have piccolo. So that's interesting. But, she has the regular concert flute. She has the alto, the bass, and the contrabass flute. So I wanted to just add more options in addition to Cinewinds. And that's kind of what I'm doing. I wish I had more. Let me pull that up, actually. I wish I had a more up to date Mac, but thankfully the template doesn't require. Exactly, yeah. I am going to, we'll see how much I can push this template. But that actually leads me into the goal of really what I'm trying to do here. Of course, I want to expand on the template. Of course, I want to, explore a more in-depth version of the free one that I have. But, if this can't run properly on my MacBook, on someone else's just like laptop or something, and it's like only reliant on the Mac Studio that I have here, then that's not an efficient template. And I think we're moving away from like, like secondary computers. And I had Vienna Ensemble Pro once, and like the idea of like just like complicating things to that extent. I think samples are becoming more efficient, especially something like Musio, and like I just never understood that much detail. And honestly, maybe I probably should have just like learned Vienna Ensemble, but it just never was my thing. So the idea is to come up with something that can be, on one system. Of course, I do have like a separate, SSD for my libraries, but really it's just one. Like all my Musio stuff is just on my regular SSD, and everything I have it set up to download to this one storage location. But that's really it. And honestly, SSDs are not hard to come by anymore, compared to even just like 3 years ago. Ooh, we got more people. Hello. We got Kevin, right? Hello, Kevin. Legend Robert. I appreciate that. And then we got Bill from Houston. Bill, oh my gosh, it's good seeing you. I've seen you, you've checked out some of my stuff before, and I also appreciated the testimonial that you gave a while back. I don't even know if you remember doing that, but I appreciate it. Definitely one of the benefits of Musio. Yeah, you're right, John. Will this template be available? That is, I guess, you guys are actually leading me into one by one what I want to talk about. This template will be available. I'm thinking that, as I set it up, whenever I can or whenever I think about it, I will go live just to, work on it, like an over the shoulder, like, keep me on in the background kind of thing. And I think I will have this available to purchase, just because like it is going to be significantly more in depth, but I will also keep the free one available. And, if necessary, I will make adjustments to that free one too. If like there's like an immediate needed update to that, but I think I would like to, maybe sell this one, but keep the creation process as much as I can, available through something like a live stream. I miss, let me actually read what you said. I miss a master fader in Musio to combine sounds and move just one fader to balance the template. I even made this suggested in support. That's a good point. Let me make sure I'm actually understanding it completely though, but if you brought it up to Musio, they are typically really good at, taking in suggestions. And I think if, enough people say like this is something that they want, I honestly think that's something that they would implement. Move just one fit. Yeah. The thing about Musio though, that I do know, just because I've heard them talk about it through like their past live streams, is that they aren't as interested in packing everything that like into the plugin itself. For example, like effects and all that, like you have like the basic effects that you can control and bypass and all this stuff, but they kind of know that like if you're going to EQ something, you can always do it with like the stock plugins in your DAW. So like they're not going to necessarily, from what I remember them talking about, like incorporate an EQ, because they know that like there are ways that you can do this within your own DAW. Hopefully that makes sense. So like I know that they're trying to find that balance between just like lightweight and like absolute essentials. Yeah, basically like Contact, like you said, Bruno. Yeah, so I think that's where they are going to be different, and that's a good thing or a bad thing. The whole point, I think, is just like simplicity and like what's absolutely necessary and like what people are just begging for. Yeah, so let me see. All right, we talked about the template, the plan for the template, right? I do want this to become eventually available for people. And this is, again, a series, like we're not going to come anywhere close to being finished with this today, the next stream. Like I want this to be something that like is pretty ongoing. I also want to avoid overwhelm. Like I look at, a lot of the massive templates, and I guess overwhelm is subjective. Because right now I do see a ton of tracks, but I also, like, for me, this makes sense. And because I now can like collapse folders, I can hide all of my flutes if I want. I can approach oboes. There is, I think it is only just Cinewin stuff. Oboe 1 and 2 is Cinewin's core. I think oboe 2 is core. English horn is definitely Cinewin's Pro, but I love that I have access to it. I don't think there's any other oboe type instrument available. And then next, like what I'm actually going to start working on soon is probably clarinets. Again, I think there are some, like maybe like a bass clarinet in Cinewin's Pro, but there isn't too much that we're going to go through. And then we'll go into bassoons. I even wrote like maybe we can look into some ensembles. Maybe we can look into more pipes and whistles and recorders, and that could be its own folder. That's definitely Cinewinds Pro thing. And then we have like world winds, and that could be. I know that they have like the Africa series, the Iceland, and just like a bunch of different places that they captured instruments. So, you know, I'm thinking maybe if there's like African percussion, African wind, instead of like an African section, we can split up by, type of instrument. And I think that would be a helpful subcategory. I'm trying to think what else. Let me see. I got an early Christmas gift from my dad, the newest iMac. Ooh, like the colorful thin one. That's a really awesome gift. Go dad, Um that's really exciting. I hope you have already kind of taken advantage of it. That's a really, really awesome gift. Um and then that's not a bad idea. I definitely think for starting composers, if figuring out what one needs for any given project, having that go to absolutely helps from Instrument Wonderlust. I might have just misread that, but I get the gist, John. Um, I'm also trying to think what I was talking about when you wrote that in. Um, if figuring out what one needs for any given project, yeah. So I mean, in general, I think I'm just trying to save myself some headache, save myself some time in the future when a project needs maybe a cohesive environment, maybe when, um, you know, a lot of it is honestly like I know that certain instruments have a sound that I don't want, and I don't want to have to maybe keep EQing that. I don't want to have to keep setting up reverbs. So a bass template is where it really comes in handy. Not necessarily something to be like you're all in one, even though it could be. Um, but just something to get you going per project. Um, so that's kind of like my idea. And let me just double check the notes. Expand on the template. Stay organized. I'm thinking this will be orchestra focused. Like I do want to explore definitely some of the. Where's the catalog? Yeah, so like this is if you don't know Musio, basically you load it up and you have everything available to you. But I think as we kind of approach down here, we have like a ton of synths, and I don't think it makes sense for me to load in like every single sound from every single synth. That's not the point of this template. I think I could have a section that's dedicated to more electronic sounds, but maybe set myself up with like, okay, this is a space for leads. This is a space for basses. This is a space for just like pads and atmospheric stuff. Kind of break it up by type of sound and then like load in and explore from there. Let's see. I might have stayed up all night to set all those programs up. I mean, if it was one night loss and you have everything ready to go, then maybe that's not too bad. And then why is Musio not having templates? And that's a good question. There was no expectation at all for Musio to use my template. I think that Mike the previous CEO, Mike Patty, he did something on YouTube with like, I think just showing off his template. But yeah, that could be something kind of cool to like, if they offered like, if you're specifically like a music producer, you might not use a full orchestral template, but check out, just like all these sounds that we offer. And here's a template to get you going. And then, if you are like a film composer, here's a quick and easy template that you can use. That would kind of be a cool idea. And I don't know if they would, take that suggestion from me or anything. Again, like I didn't make my template as a way to be like, hey, Musio, show it off. I just really appreciated that they did. Um, yeah, but that's a really good point, Kevin. Um, all right, so I talked about the synths. I talked about not having Vienna Ensemble Pro anymore. Um, and I also, final point in my notes before I kind of just get started, is a lot of the inspiration behind this template is one, just me building up a template over like 10 years, like, or just like exploring it. I still don't feel like I know everything, and I don't feel like I have the best template, or at least the direction that I'm going in. But a lot of elements are kind of pulled from different inspirations and different sources. So, like, if you've seen Zach Heidi's uh, his own template from, I think you could buy it on his website too. Specifically, the through tracks is directly a call from him, and I love this idea. Um, if you didn't see the Musio video I did, basically the through tracks are just like a roundabout way for you to hear your MIDI while also giving yourself the ability to print stems. Um, I used to do it in a way that, like, the the MIDI would go into groups, and the groups would go into audio, like stem audio tracks, but then I would have to rely on input monitoring, and it was very, very annoying to deal with. I like this as a secondary option so I can still hear, and then once I print the tracks, I can mute the stems or I can mute the MIDI, whatever it may be. um yeah, Zach's template is massive, and I feel like honestly this might get there as well. It depends, because we are sticking just with Musio stuff, so maybe it won't get as crazy. Um, in the past, I've gone crazy, and it made me less inspired because I was like completely overwhelmed by the amount of options that I had, and that, I think, was such a demotivator for my own composing workflow. So, there's a balance. There's definitely a balance. Um, where was I? I was talking about just like reverbs and through tracks and stems and all that. Oh, so Zach was definitely a big inspiration, and I've talked about templates and stuff with him. ThinkSpace, I went to ThinkSpace for my master's, and did a whole orchestration thing with them. So I'm like very, very familiar with Guy Mitchellmore and how he works and how he approaches templates. So I'm taking a little bit of inspiration from him. I'm also one of the tutors for their orchestral composition boot camp, and we actually just ended. I think tomorrow we're doing like a final goodbye, and it's really been incredible. That, like, talking about music and talking about the orchestra and helping other students just like go 8 weeks starting with an idea and developing it is like super rewarding. This has nothing to do with a Musio template, but like it's top of mind and I'm super excited about it. I really appreciate being part of that program. But anyway, ThinkSpace was another inspiration. Who else? I recently got into Kevin, you just brought it up. Yeah. Yeah, Guy. I absolutely love him. He's a fantastic guy. Pun intended, I guess. And then you actually learn orchestration from Zach's videos and Mattia Chiappa. I was gonna say that this is I just found his stuff. I know that Zach and Mattia are, I think, buddies as well, but I just found, like, I know that he's done the template, I think 6.0 recently, and I think honestly that's where I got I never used the secondary ruler. I saw that and immediately was like, that's cool. I think this is helpful. Um so, I think I'm going to take inspiration and see what works and what doesn't, on top of just like how I've worked with templates in the past. But yeah, so let's just get started. I'll show you what I've worked on since the Musio free video, because it already has changed a lot. First thing is first, I created this 2-bar click track because I am not a fan of going into negative bars. I think it can definitely mess up, especially when you're gonna have music recorded live, and when you like print stuff, it gets a little weird. So, just kind of incorporating a 2-bar click track is very helpful. And you can also label this like in the score as well. When I did my masters, that was something that I learned, like, literally give yourself 2 bars of click and let the players know, and then they come in on like bar 3. What else did I do? I did marker sets. This is something I've been exploring. So basically it's super simple: spotting and notes. So it removes the spotting markers, and then like if there's a note or whatever, I can add that in. But for now, spotting is fine. We have the chord, just, so I can visually see what's going on. And then of course, tempo. Let's see, we got some questions. Robert, how do you handle balance, by Musio's fader or by DAW? So that's another fantastic question. I will rarely touch a volume fader. I will rarely touch, if you even look at the mixer. Why did it not? Oh, because I'm not on Logic. Okay. If we look at the mixer, and I know this is a little bit, a lot to look at, but I will very rarely touch a volume fader on an instrument itself. The only time I would consider it is, let's close that up. So now we have the groups: winds, brass, percussion, keys, harp, strings, and we'll add more as the template grows. This will be where I might automate, if something is very intimate and quiet at the start of a piece, but then it grows. And, sometimes you might actually have to automate the volume, and I might do it by like a couple of dBs and then bring it back. And then, so that's typically how I balance that. You'll notice that I actually have a gain plugin per track, and I will go in, and this is a big part of what I'm doing now is I'm literally building this track and balancing it. And that's the whole reason why I have a level meter. So I don't want to go past -12 dB, because I can always bump that up. But the closer I get to 0, the more distortion I'm going to get. And like digital distortion, not good distortion. So I want like my loudest to be -12. And right now I'm kind of basing it off of just the winds, when honestly, I'm even wondering if I should just be focusing on percussion. Because if, percussion, brass, if those are going to be the loudest, then I balance winds against that. But right now, I think I'm just balancing winds against themselves. So basically I'm going to use a gain plugin. So like, let's take a look at the Piccolo Legato, for example. And I actually bumped it up 2 dB. But the reason is because I've also panned it slightly, -5. You'll see that winds, or at least the flutes, are like -10. It depends on the instrument, depends on how it sounds. But to me, like a flute and piccolo, -5 sounded roughly similar to Gina Luciani Cinema Flutes, -10. You'll see that I went a little crazy with EQ. Like, I might go back and adjust later, but like if we were to listen to the piccolo, so compare that to when I turn that off. There's like a hiss. There's like this hum, especially when we get higher. Right there. Whereas if I turn it on, it's less, but I ducked those higher frequencies by about 3 dB. I actually could maybe tighten that up a little bit so I get more of the M shape. And I know that a piccolo is not going to really enter anywhere in this range, so I cut that out. The reason being is because I want to avoid frequency stacking. I want to avoid, I layer one recording in a space and the natural sound of the air and the environment, you get that in one recording. Then you add another layer on top of that. Then you add another layer. And what seemingly sounds like silence with one instrument eventually is going to just stack up, and that's what's going to give you a very muddy sound. So because I know that like a piccolo really doesn't offer anything of value or in this range, I'm just cutting it out. Here I'm just dipping it so I can cut out some of the mud, and then here I want to dip it so I get rid of that hiss. That's essentially how I approach EQ, at least on the track by track basis. And I think that is essentially how I want to balance, and I go one by one and I take a listen to annoying frequencies, and that's it, so like people could do this. That's why I also want to make this available eventually. Looks like we have some more comments. The Musio template would have been a lifesaver. Yeah, it's I think that's such a good idea, honestly. Mine, somebody else's, their own, have something, give something as like a treat. Maybe I know that they have a Discord server. Maybe that could be for like Discord members or something. I don't know. Or I guess if you just land on their website, it's available. But it really is like, I think Spitfire, when they did their BBC, kind of Discover library, I think they did have like some sort of free template for Logic, for Cubase, for whatever it was. I thought that was kind of a cool thing. How do you create a click track? So I basically, where is it? Let me see if I can do this or at least show you. When you go, at least in Logic, and you click the all in your mixer, there should be, you have to find it, but there is like an automatic just click track available for you. You can, adjust your click here. I believe you can also go into, is it settings or is it project settings? I don't remember because I haven't done this in a while. MIDI? Nope. I'm looking for just click. I don't remember where it is, but you can basically adjust in your settings as well. But you basically take this track, you press Control T. It's already there, so that's why I won't do it. But let's go back to track. You go here. It basically is a MIDI track, and you go here and you have your click, and you can adjust, and it follows the tempo changes, and then you can also bounce it out from there. There is an argument to be said that, like, this touches on realistic recording technique, and if you were like, you don't want to give a live session just like a constantly changing of tempo click track, because that's going to just waste a lot of time, the players trying to figure it out. You more want maybe the click to stay the same, but then you're writing, maybe a 4/4 becomes a 3/4 and a 2/4 to create 5/4. Like you want to do little techniques there, instead of just changing the tempo and then having that be the click track. Yeah, giant time saver for sure. So hopefully that makes sense. The click track, I'm not going to use it really unless I'm actually writing and sending out to be recorded, but it's good. It's definitely good to have. Um, all right. Should we just take a look at what has been changed? I actually already technically started that. I talked about the 2-bar click, right? Negative, not using negative bars. I talked about the new marker sets, secondary ruler, which was a Mattia Chiappa thing. Let's see. Some things that I wanted to keep in mind as I went through this was there is going to be track delay, like negative track delays that I I've never really been good at, and people always say like, "Well, how do you handle like the track delay?" And I'm like, I never really did, and it hasn't affected my music uh, like a crazy amount. I've been able to write without thinking about track delays, but thinking about it more, it's something that is really helpful to keep in mind. But it is a track by track kind of thing. So like for example, legatos I know have a bit of like baked in delay. So if you were to like align the click to like if you were aligned like where the transient of the audio uh starts and you look at it bar by bar, you'll probably notice that the transient is much later than when the downbeat is. And you could say the same thing about shorts, and different shorts have different track, like it becomes a whole thing. Track delay is something I'm going to probably worry about later. That's a I don't want to think about that just yet. My main things are EQ, which I already kind of talked about why I do EQ the way I do. Reverb, that's something that we can talk about. Panning, I briefly touched on it and like how certain libraries should be panned differently. Something that I am, let's see. Do you see that? Okay. So I just look up, orchestral layout, and you're going to find things that give you different answers. This one I like a lot because it's simple enough. So like in general, my flutes, I'll be slightly to the left. My clarinets slightly to the left. My oboes and bassoons slightly to the right. And, I also want to listen to where everything was recorded anyway. So like default, Musio, Cinewinds, what does that sound like? And if it, I want to carve out space in my own template, but I also kind of want to go off of what is naturally baked into the library already. So I literally bounce all around and see, this isn't as helpful, woodwinds. Here you can kind of see it, like everything is just like slightly different, especially with like brass and percussion. But this one I feel like is good for now. Will this template be overpriced when you're selling it? It depends. Overpriced to me might be something different to somebody else. No, I realistically don't want to, make this like inaccessible either. I think I definitely want this to be worth the amount of time I'm putting in, and I think, I mean, we're nowhere near done, so like I can't even say what a cost might be, but I'm not trying to steal people's money either. It's going to be based on the amount of effort that goes into it. It's going to be based, and it literally also, if you want to create the template yourself, that's what these live streams are for, and kind of apply those concepts. Yeah, so I'm not even thinking about price at the moment. Yeah, so that is the balance. What else do I have? Musio racks are another thing that I started implementing. So once this becomes available, you'll see that I will actually offer, right now we have that's the template. if I were to go to my library, I go to sound libraries, I go to Cinesamples, I go to Musio racks. This is something I created in my own like library SSD. You'll see that I have a dedicated section, and so far I just have Cinewinds and I just have Gino Luciani cinema flutes. And basically Musio racks are just basically what they sound like. They're your racks. So this is flute legato Gino Luciani. So if you were to load up the right there, the flute, nope, sorry. If you were to load up the concert flute GLCF Musio, it should load up this exact Musio rack. And you'll see that it, if I go into, let me cancel that. If I go into, that was legato, this is going to be specifically longs, you'll have the key switches set up. So sustain flutter, swell, vibrato, trills. The next one is your shorts. The next one is your runs. And the next one is your effects. So that's kind of how I broke it up. It's a little different or a little bit more expanded compared to the free template that I have, which was like just legato, longs, and shorts. Flutes, legato, long, shorts, but then Gino Luciani, I kind of went and divided a little bit more. The same thing can be said for alto flute and, bass flute. I purchased your Touch OSC template. Oh, that's actually really awesome to hear. I wonder if I have the space. But look, this is for anyone that doesn't know, I have a Touch OSC iPad template kind of thing, and this is basically my MIDI controller for everything. I don't like to necessarily use the faders on my keyboard itself, so I use pre-programmed faders to control modulation, expression. It has buttons and whatnot, which you can then program. It's really cool. It's been helpful for me. It just takes a little bit of back end work, but I think it's worth it. Let's see. So yeah, we talked about Musio Rack. So you'll see that. Next, you're also going to see that I heavily went into articulation sets. This is a branch off of the free template as well. I've actually gotten a couple of people reach out to me saying like, in that template, I only created an articulation set for a percussion instrument. And I think it was because it didn't have a key switch. It didn't have, X, Y, and Z. Definitely watch the video to, figure that out. But I purposefully avoided articulation sets because I didn't want to overcomplicate. I just went with key switches. So in general, you might see like piccolo, let's see. Actually, it doesn't really matter. Let's go here. You might see like a flute legato as just one articulation. And then I have the key switch patch for just sustains in my longs. And that was kind of it. Articulation sets are an entirely different beast that I will be implementing because I love them. So obviously I don't have one for piccolo legato, but let's say piccolo longs. And this is Cinewind, so it's not Gino Luciani. So you'll see it's already pre-saved, piccolo longs _ Musio. I created a folder within articulation settings, which you can find in audio music apps. I created a subfolder for if it's Cinewinds, if it's Gino Luciani, and you'll see I just created a bunch of different sets. So this is Cinewinds piccolo. Piccolo and flute share the same long and the same short articulation sets. And I just picked that one. Or did I not? Now I'm confused. Piccolo longs. Did I just rename it? Okay, it essentially is the same thing. That's embarrassing that it wasn't correct. But anyway, so if you were to like go in, create a new articulation set, where are you? Yeah. You would then, go in and add in as many articulations as you have available to you. You'll go into the output, you'll select note on because it's a key switch. You look at the MIDI channel that it's coming out of and you input the key switch that it's available. And then you want to make sure you also, add the appropriate number here. And what you essentially do is, if we were to open up like a MIDI track, you'll see that the articulation is now available specifically for your longs. And so it starts us off on sustained non-vibrato, but you could do sustained vibrato, you could do half step, whole step. And this way, if I were to write something, I should turn it on probably. Why are you not playing? Let me just... Let's just do something like that. So I could do, let's say you are sustained vibrato. Let's say you are non-vibrato and you are whole step, half step trill. My expression, let's just have you bumped up. That's a terrible example, but you get the point. You don't have to use those key switch indicators, like either at the very end or the top, and you can assign just based on the note. And you can do that for your longs, and then you could do that for your shorts, and right, that's tenuto. You could change it to staccatissimo. That's too low. Right. And it's very, very simple. You don't have to remember the key switch, which is the worst thing about key switches. Let me get rid of that like random note. I don't know why that didn't play. Maybe because it's too low. Hello. That's why. Anyway, that's articulation sets. You'll see also that I have this MIDI preset available. This is a way for me before, during the 2-bar click, before anybody plays. This was definitely a ThinkSpace thing that I learned. You go in here and set up all your MIDI data that you want ahead of time. So that way, when you press play, I have it set up so that expression is all the way up. That way I just, there's no issue with volume. Like one track is, 127 expression, but then another I had accidentally at, 65. And then that affects my balancing issues. I want it to be 100%. I then can change it so that my modulation is roughly 75%. So that's still gives me a loud enough, a more dynamic performance, and I can test it out, especially when I'm balancing. And then as I write, I then will change everything. But this gives everything a very neutral starting point. Let's see. So those are my MIDI presets. And as I go about doing this, I, copy and paste onto the next track because nothing is different. What else? I don't know if you can see. I think you actually can see like just here. That's where my camera kind of stops. But I do have some stuff I'm going to experiment with eventually, and that is parallel compression. I've never actually tried it, and I know a lot of people talk about it, but basically, from my understanding, you have like, your effects bus, and that might be where you compress. And it might be like a heavy, heavy compression, but then you will use and send your instruments over slightly. That way you get like that thickness, the warmth without over compressing your instrument. I've heard that is a really good technique that I'm going to learn about and experiment with probably after I build the template. And then tape saturation. I never really use tape saturation, but like I also understand that it also it helps with blending. It helps with just like making things sound a little bit glued together. By no means am I a mix engineer. Mixing is like my least favorite thing, and usually if I can, I would rather give it to somebody because they are better at it than I am. But also realistically, I want to be able to have a template that feels naturally mixed. Mixing is really going to come down to, one, is the arrangement good? Are you just like using instruments that are all muddy and all in the same range, you know? And if so, are you carving out space with EQ? And are you, so I want to make sure that the template itself offers a decent mix before you really go in and think about mixing. And then the other thing is I need to learn more about mastering. That is the, that is the, I get the basics. I do, but I would be lying if I didn't say I heavily relied on Ozone, from Isotope. So the point of this template is to do all of that stuff without third-party plugins other than Musio. So I'm going to learn about mastering as I go along. I'm going to learn about mixing. Kevin, I really appreciate that comment. It definitely means a lot knowing that like I can share stuff and it helps, because to me, I'm just learning. I'm learning everything and sharing what I learn, and hopefully presenting it in a way that can be easy to understand. There was one more thing, and then I've been going for almost an hour. Maybe I'll do some clarinets, but I feel like an hour is a solid stream too. Hopefully, I think what I really want from this particular stream is to at least get the layout. I hope I've been able to kind of explain like, okay, this is where the free Musio template was, and this is what I've changed so far. I'll definitely explain what I've been doing with adding more instruments and go through that process. That way everything is in one video. And then the next time I go live, maybe I'll continue and I won't do as much like explaining. I'll explain, but I'll at least like get some more work in. I've been so reliant on Ozone. Yeah, John, me too. It's like, it's one of those things where the second you just like load up the default, your ears will be like, oh, wow, that's really cool. But I also am like, part of me is like, why does that sound cool? Like, what exactly is it doing that is changing my music, and why is there such a drastic difference, And that's what I want to learn a little bit and like apply, with maybe Logic stock plugins. I don't think it's going to be exactly the same. I think Ozone is worth what it offers, and I know that Logic also now has come on, let's go. Yeah, now the stereo output offers, oh, you can't see it. I wonder if I can go single. Here we go. The stereo output track now has that, like, I guess the new Logic mastering, and you can kind of, it's a little basic, but you can work on the spread, the loudness, custom EQ and stuff. So like, I think that's a nice place to start. Maybe that will be what I use for mastering. I've literally never used that before, so I don't know. Oh yes, I will show you the blank. Let me leave that up so I don't forget, but I'll show you that as well. But the main thing I wanted to show you is that if we even look, like, everything here is Logic specific. I'm going to go to my reverbs. I guess I can just show you down here. So this is my reverb folder. It's broken up into winds, brass, percussion. The reverb group follows the group of my instruments. So wind goes to wind reverb and whatnot. And I actually could have done short, medium, long. I only went short and long, and I might even change the length of these a little bit more. But you'll notice that for short, I just use Space Designer. It sounds kind of good. I used a 0.7 second recording room A reverb. And then on the long, I believe it was like a 3 point something, 3.8 grand hall, so that sets up the bus like reverb track, and then individually each instrument can be sent to to one or the other. Let's see. And again, this is all Logic stuff, so I didn't want to include like spaces, even though like that's what I use or have used in the past. But let me just try. I got to go back to Gina Luciani flute. Right, so that's blank. Let's send it to the short. Everything is set up to roughly -10. Beautiful. And then let's send it to the long. And you can kind of hear that decay a little bit more. If it's not wet enough for you, you can bump it up a little bit. I like -10 just to start us off and then adjust from there. So that is reverb. Okay, yeah. So I have a question about how do you create the blank track spaces between sections? So I believe you are looking at that and that. I did it in the Musio. I keep bringing it up. In the video, I kind of explained how to do it. Now I just need to remember. But basically, if you were to like just create a new track, I'm curious if I can just do it. Let's try empty channel strip just for now. Where'd you go? So if you like, I created the track, it's wherever it shows up. If I reassign the track, you can set it to no output. And basically, these blank tracks are all the same track. Like this track is the same as that. I'm just recalling it. So if I were to like color it a different thing, it's going to affect all of those tracks. But if I were to name it something, like you might see it come up as no output. It doesn't change the title, which is a good thing. But like if I were to change the color to, come on. It's that, like if I were to change it to this orange or something, you'll see that every single one changed to orange, which I don't like. I wish I could change it, base it off of the section colors, but it's okay. This blue is a little bit muted. So what I do is when you see this no output, I delete that, I give it a space, and then I press enter, and it leaves it blank, right? So technically there is text or, a character there that's taking up space, and it's just a blank space. So hopefully that answered that question. And I'll duplicate it and move it wherever I need to. Sadly, John, you're bringing up the mastering thing, which is going to be good to know. Sadly, the Logic mastering only has one mix option available for Intel-based Macs. Okay, it's only beneficial. Yeah, so that's a good point. It's definitely clear that Apple has been heavily leaning into their M series chips. I actually don't even know if they offer Intel anymore, like based on their new lineups of Macs and laptops and even iPads and all that. I don't even know if Intel is their thing. that's a good point. So, if you are Intel, maybe the mastering plugin isn't the way to go. All right, so I feel like that's an hour long chat about the differences and what my plan is and all of that. So let me just kind of go through maybe the clarinets. So I basically, you'll notice in every single wind group, I have a new instrument to duplicate. This is already, I might have to change the way I do this, but for now, this is the way I do it. It is already pre-colored. It's already set up in the winds category. It's already set up to your buses. Bus 65, 66 is winds, shorts, and longs. I duplicated, I brought it down, and I created a basically clarinet legato. The way I also just realized that I could do this was I also have folders set up within the winds folder, which is super, super useful. So I'll collapse that. I'll collapse oboes. The way you can do this is, let's say you take a collection of instruments. You know that this is now going to be your bass bassoon folder. I'm going to Shift Command D, and that's going to bring up my track stacks. I want this just to be a folder track stack. So that means there's no routing involved. It's literally just a folder. Summing track stacks are what we use for the groups. So winds, it is a folder, but it also routes somewhere else. Where was I? So we have bassoons. We know that this is going to be bassoons. I can now get rid of these two because these were kind of just like placeholders for me. And what let me get rid of this one because I wasn't doing anything with it for now. What I like to do is take an empty track, and you'll notice that this is like slightly, this is slightly smaller than like the actual track itself. Just so you are aware, I will Option drag. I'll bring it underneath the clarinets. Notice how I duplicated and it brought me back to no output. I'm going to, do space, like I said, enter, and there goes that name. And what's important to note is pay super close attention to like the folder threads. This track is not within the clarinets folder. And you'll know that because you see this arch, it stops at this track. So if I close up clarinets, it still is a nice divider. Sometimes that can be frustrating when I duplicate an instrument and then trying to get it back into the clarinet folder or something. That can be frustrating, but it is what it is. Yeah, so basically you see we have bassoons, clarinets, oboes, flutes, right? And then these are just like notes to self that I'm going to work on. But let's keep working on clarinets. How did I do it with... Yeah, so I had a separator between different instruments. So I'm going to actually duplicate. I'm going to bring you here. But again, notice it's not inside the clarinet track. So you have to do this weird thing where you put it inside and then bring it back up again. And now it's inside. It's annoying, but it's just how logic works. All right. I want to take a look at Musio. What did I say? This is just clarinet. So let's see what comes up with clarinets. We already have the clarinets from Cinewinds. The only other thing is, actually we have a few clarinets. I wasn't expecting that. We have bass clarinet, we have contrabass clarinet, and then we have E flat clarinet. I guess let me try the E flat clarinet. let me instead go to Cinewinds. I believe this is a pro feature. Yeah. All right, let me just find where E flat is. I believe it has sustain vibrato, legato. Okay, so it only has one legato, so I only need I don't need a key switch for legato specifically. Where'd you go? So I'll load you in. Then, do you have runs or no? Sorry, I'll explain all like what I'm looking for once I have it all set up, but so it's just trills and shorts and sustains. Okay, so that there's not even any effects there. So what we'll do is I'm going to load in the key switch, and this will be the key switch specifically for my longs, and then I'll do that again, and this is the key switch specifically for my shorts. I'll let it load. I honestly, it doesn't really matter, but technically the E flat clarinet is higher. So let me just double check that. Or not. It's not. It just, I think it's just smaller, right? That's a very different sound. You can tell. Yeah, I think I'll put the E flat clarinet above, but for now, that's not a right now problem. You'll see this is going to be important for articulation sets and using aux tracks as individual tracks. So you'll see this is routed to MIDI channel 1, 2, and 3. This is going to output 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. If I were to open up the mixer, make sure you can see, you'll notice that when I load in a Musio track or a Musio plugin that is multi-output, so not the default stereo, just the multi-output. So this gives you 16 stereo outs, which technically is just, what, 8 tracks? You want to do that because then you'll see that you have this plus or minus button here. It won't show up otherwise, but you basically... what did I do? I'm on the wrong one. I was at the clarinet. Oh, I didn't finish clarinet. Oh, I'm all over the place. It's okay. I'm gonna, just because I want to show you what it looks like from scratch. So we have the new instrument. We'll call this E flat clarinet legato, and this is Cinewinds, right? What I'm going to do is press the plus and the plus, and you'll notice that we have 2 new aux tracks, but you notice that they don't show up in our actual main window. What I'm going to do is Control T. We see them show up. I'm going to put them right there, but again, they're not in the group, so I should put them there. Take this track and bump it up. This way, we still look at this like thread line, and everything is within the clarinets folder. These are the little details that like you wouldn't know to look for. It's just the way Logic works, and it's annoying, but I would never change. All right, so I'll turn those off for now. This was E flat clarinet. That's not how you spell clarinet. Longs, CW. Let me just copy, paste, and we'll say shorts. And that will be for like our staccatos and stuff. So now everything is where it should be, but now this is what's really frustrating. I'm noticing that I get frustrated a lot with Logic's workflow and the way just Logic works, but again, I could never change. When I duplicated this and brought it outside of like, you know, around the folder structure, it routed the output to what would be, where's 255? I have my through tracks. Where are you? Where are you? Am I silly? 225. Where are you? Let's look at the chain. Wins through. Okay, so it's going directly through my wins through track, which is why I can still hear it. But I don't want that. I want it to go to my wins group. So I will select all. What's amazing is Logic's new search option. I don't have to go, line by line looking for whatever I need. I could just type in one and there it is. It's beautiful. The next thing that I'm going to do is take a look. I like stereo pan over balance. I think it does a better job at a realistic pan. I wonder if I can just, let's see what it sounds like. So this is just the balance option, which is the default. And if I were to go like this, it completely just shifts it based on the stereo image, which isn't exactly what I want. Like it lowers the volume on the right side, whereas like pan really like adjusts a little bit better. I think you get a much more realistic pan this way. So it still sounds like stereo. It's still, yeah, so much better. And you'll even notice that the left and right signals are a little bit more evened out. And of course, you can always adjust a little bit. Like that's fully stereo. That's fully, just basic center. Not only can you turn the knob, but you can also adjust the white. If I do it correctly. There we go. So see how now it's a little bit tighter together. So you can make things a little bit more like mono or stereo if needed. I'm going to set you back to normal because I don't need that right now. Where was I? So yeah, I want these to be stereo pan. I want this to route to 65 because I know that is my wins short. And then I'm going to route this to 66 because I know that is my wins long. What are you? Yeah, you're post fader. So I want these to be post fader. I want this to be -10. I want this to be post fader. I want this to be -10. And then I want to turn these off. And I will give these a gain. And that is essentially how I set up a new instrument and their articulations. Now I want to balance E flat clarinet with other instruments. So I might like be jumping around a little bit. Notice that it's already sounding a little bit to the right. Dare I add it a little bit more? It's actually a very... I'm looking at the meter. It's not approaching, and that's with the expression at all the way up. It's modulation. I like to move around and see what it sounds like. Halfway, all the way up. Yeah, expression I don't have to touch right now, but... That's not terrible. What's the clarinet? That's much louder, and I already did -5 dB. um, why are you so different in volume? Let me try flutes again. I want to get a clear image. Let me try actually oboes. Oboe 2. Come on. Oh. Notice how much quieter that is. I like balancing things quieter so that then I give myself room to raise the volume later. I don't need it to be anywhere near 0. I don't need it, like, I want 12 to be the max, because I can always bump up. Let me try piccolo long. That's a bit louder. Let's go back to clarinet so I get a good sense. When it's in its lower register, it feels more natural. I don't know why I was testing it all the way up there. Did I do... Yeah, okay, so long I put as... Notice when they play together, we're bumping it up, so I likely would... I would treat expression and modulation when they're at their max as limited. How do I want to explain it? You know, I'm not going to keep everything up there. More likely, I'm going to keep everything roughly between 50% and 75%. And that's like their, not default, but like that's where I want them to sit beautifully. And then I'll bump it up when things call for it in the music, but I don't want to mix to that, because it's not going to be as often. Yeah, so -5 feels right. I honestly think it's a little dry. It sounds very, very like direct. All right, I think it's good enough for now. We'll come back to it because we were working on the E flat clarinet. I don't like... Where are you? There's a hiss that I really am not a fan of. Was it because I wasn't on the E flat? Yeah, it was because I wasn't on the E flat. Oh, and clarinets are not to the... Let's go -5. There's a significant difference in sound, in panning, between the clarinet and the E flat clarinet. And I don't know why. Your piccolo, your clarinet. Yeah, so roughly, even if you are going from your standard clarinet to an E flat, you should be in the same position. And it roughly should be left. So I don't know why the E flat clarinet is so far to the right. And you sound so reverby, wet. I don't necessarily want to get rid of it. Let's bump down that a little bit. What I'm really excited for is Musio is supposed to come out with mic positions. It's been in development for a while. I hope it comes out like early next year. I think that might be what they're saving for what's, I'm assuming, going to be Musio 2. You know how they have Musio 1? I feel like that would be like a nice big update to promote the next version. But that's just me speculating. I have zero idea if that's what they plan on doing. I just really want mic positions because I think some things are coming in a little too hot. Yeah, like that sounds super up close and dry. And that's just a regular clarinet. And I brought it down -5 dB. And I haven't touched the gain for the E flat clarinet. I don't know what I want to do. Oh no. All right. But then it doesn't sound it like the initial signal is very up close, but then the reverb is still a little wet for my liking. I don't know. This is something I think I could fix with mic positions, but we'll wait for that. Let me work on the EQ a little bit for the E flat. Let's... Here I think I have to be... All right, so G is the lowest. Let us... Sorry, everybody. I'm just looking for that tone. I think it's here. You know, nothing crazy. I'm not trying to change the overall sound of the instrument. And then I'll bump you down because I don't like the hiss. Bring you down there. Da 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 da. It's so subtle. Welcome back, Kevin. You missed, I don't know when you left to eat, but I'm figuring out E flat clarinet stuff. Basically, I'm trying to think. Yeah. what I'm trying to do with these EQs is just tidy it up a little bit. The actually, I don't notice too much of a difference. There is something. There's like a very, very subtle difference between the two, and I think to my ears it sounds just cleaner. Um, you know, if I'm looking for noise, if I'm looking for like, basically I just don't want that buildup, and I can always add in some sort of noise saturation later. I want everything to be clean. All right, so that's that. It's fair to say that the EQ, I'm going to use it on my longs. I guess I could also use it on my shorts as well. Please, come on. There we go. Yeah, maybe the EQ. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, I guarantee that these were definitely processed and cleaned up before they were released, but sometimes things just don't match the way I want them to. I wonder, where was it? Was it the piccolo? I don't know if it was piccolo or flute or alto flute. Maybe alto flute. So that actually is a little. Let me try. Testing, testing. Hello, hello. Oh no, something's going on. Okay, I think we're back. I don't know. Why can't I hear anything? Okay, so you guys can hear me, and I see on OBS the volume, bumping up, and I see that my volume's going out. But I can't hear the sound. So let me. Yeah, for whatever reason, I can't hear the actual logic. So let me go to my audio settings. It says it's going through. Let me maybe go to system settings. Let me apply. I'll go back. Apply. There we go. I hear something. Okay. It's one of those things where literally I don't know if it's my audio interface or if it's logic or something else, but every so often when I play or do something, my audio interface will kind of cut out, and I have the SSL2 plus, which I usually would swear by. And it's one of those things where I have to just unplug and plug back in, and sometimes it just works. Usually I don't have that problem where I can't hear the audio, but you sometimes just gotta hit it and hope it comes back. Awesome. All right, I'm happy to see that everyone's saying like we're all good, so that's good to know. to answer the question, I did not add reverb yet. I don't know if I want the reverb to be turned on in this template. I think that's more of a like while I'm writing thing, but if I think something is too wet or too dry, then maybe in Musio that'll be where I bring it down. You know, like their natural reverb. Otherwise, I don't necessarily want to adjust that too much and have everything kind of be all crazy before, you know, we even start writing. Ooh, Chaz, let me put that up. Oh no, my little camera's in the way. But I'm enjoying your content. This is my first live with your channel. I'll be looking for more content as a producer slash engineer. This is your first live. This is my first live, friend. You know, I really appreciate you being here. And you know, I deal with the technical issues in live in front of everybody. But I definitely appreciate you checking out my stuff. And you know, I mentioned this at the beginning of the stream, but these lives are just kind of a way for me to just show up, not edited. I make a ton of mistakes. I don't speak as well as I wish I did on camera, but you know, I want 2025 to be a bit more just open and real. And you know, I show you all the mistakes and all my curiosities and things that work and things that don't. And that's the goal. And then we got one from John. Could just be a hardware thing. I've definitely had that happen from time to yeah. Honestly, I've never had it happen. I think it might just be like my interface, and I've had this thing for what, 4 years, 5 years now. I don't want to say that anything's wrong with it because I love it, but you know, you never know. All right. I don't remember what I was exactly saying. Oh, I was looking at the alto flute. You'll notice that I did probably the harshest of treatment to this. I honestly like the sound. I know that I'm cutting out high end, and I know that I'm cutting out that low end. I get it. But I think it makes this rounder sound that I'm specifically looking for from an alto flute. And then if I were to turn it off, it's going to sound very different. Actually, no, it doesn't. There. I don't like that sound. So when I turn... Why are you not... Why? Oh, because I turned off the wrong thing. Okay, that's what I don't like. It sounds clearer. And I get that is the natural sound of the alto flute. But I think it sounds very similar to a regular flute at the expense of that whistle. Do you hear that? Realistically, what I could do is, you know, maybe turn that off and do something like this. You know, basically what I've been doing with everything else. But I still hear it. And I just... What I might do is bump you up, maybe push this back a little bit. I just like that rounded tone a bit better. But if that's not for you, you can do what I just did and turn off you could turn this off and why am I losing my train of thought? And basically kind of duck it down that way. I think what I was also trying to do was take a listen to the alto flute from Gina Luciani. I think it... Notice how it has that, like, just rounder tone to it? Honestly, I think I would go for that. And I was just trying to round the regular Cinewin's alto flute. Um, I really like the Gina Luciani one. Anyway, yeah, the air, it's the air from the player, like it, and it's okay to include these little artifacts, but everything has it, and everything is stacking on top of one another. So it's gonna create just like this hiss that I don't really want. And instead of saving all that for later at the end when I'm mixing and doing all this stuff, I would rather just, if I notice it, cut it out. You know, right from the source. And then that way, even if I have to bump up some highs or lows or whatever it may be, I I don't get like this overload of hiss because I bumped up the highs and everybody is, has the air of the player. Um, yeah, so that's the reasoning behind all this. And how long do you think it will take until this is fully finished and ready to buy? Um, that is a good question. I tend to take a while for things. Unfortunately, I feel like the George R. R. Martin of templates, where it's going to take me a long time. What I would like to do is maybe keep the lives as like an accountability thing. That way I get through the work. Again, this one is specifically just me talking and explaining why things work. So we're not really building the template. I also plan on working on this in my free time for fun, where I may or may not go live. But if I do anything, I will take note and bring it as updates for the next live. But I would like to, keep this as accountability for me because I do want to go live more. Definitely one of those things with samples. Yeah, about the it's just how they were recorded. That's all. All right. So I did the. Why am I all over the place? Yeah. See, remember when I was doing E flat clarinet? I don't have a problem with focus. Not at all. Let's say -10 because you're also. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even do the important part. I'm leaving everybody hanging. So let me go ahead, and this is just legato. What I'm going to do is, I don't like having legato and just like sustains on one. I'm going to get rid of you, and going to get rid of tenuto, staccato, and that. What I'm going to do is bring sustain to that. I'm going to bring sustain vibrato to C sharp. I'll bring trill half step and then trill whole step. And this will lead us into articulation sets. Then I'll do the same thing, but no legato, no sustain, none of that. Get rid of you, and then I'll bring tenuto, and you follow that same pattern. I like to just start. This is Musio's key switch system. It's great that they added key switches because it just makes this easier, but I do wish it was a little bit more robust. I would like to change the octave sometimes, but it's not that big of a deal. I feel like I've been able to manage to work around that. Can't wait to buy. Yeah, I mean, honestly, even if you take what you learn. Sorry, I'm referring to Kevin. If you take what you learn from any of this or get ideas from anything, you could even start implementing. Because again, I don't know when I'm gonna sell it. Who knows? But when I do, everyone, subscribers, all that stuff will be the first to know. And, you know, we always have the backlog of lives so that you can just explore. All right, so we got tenuto, staccato, and staccatissimo. What I'm going to do is, let's say we're on clarinet longs. I'm going to, that way I could look at it. I'm going to articulation set. I'm going to new. I'm going to move things out of the way. And we have this new setting. So we have a total of 4. So I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4. Articulation sets can be really annoying, but all these that I'm creating now, I will also include in the template once I sell it. So sustain, vibrato. We got half step trill. Let me just copy that. Let me just do that. And we'll say whole step trill. We'll go to output. Each of these are note on, so we'll do that. I wish Logic let me kind of like select all and then do note on, but you'll see that it only does it to 1. Channel, this is coming out of channel 2, so we want all of these specifically to come out of channel 2 because this is the key switch patch. So we'll do that. 2, 2, 2, and then the selector is going to be C1. But what is nice about Logic here is that I selected that. It's automatically going to recognize the next one. So C sharp, D, D sharp. Value is not, we don't have to worry about that right now. We'll go to switches, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll X out of that. I will save as. Notice this is the audio music apps in your, so if you go to like your Mac or whatever, you go to music folder, you go to audio music apps. If you don't have articulation sets already, this folder does not exist. But when you create one and save one, it will create this folder, this articulation settings folder. The only way Logic is going to recognize articulation sets is if it can find this folder in this audio music apps folder. So, nothing mean. Let me pull that up just so I have it. Take screenshots. Yeah, I mean, if that's gonna work, then by all means, you know, there's a reason why I'm doing this live. You know, I just figured people that don't want to put in the work for the template, or you just want it right out the gate, you can go ahead and build from there. So anyway, so articulation settings. Then I created some. This is the folder I have for the free version, and all that's in there is that percussion, but we'll go ahead and change that as we go through. Musio is its own folder, and I know that this is going to be for this template. Right now I'm working with Cinewinds, and oh, I didn't even create a clarinet one. I just started from scratch because I wanted to show you guys everything. That's fine. You know what? Let me maybe go for like, yeah. Let's go E flat clarinet longs dash Musio. And we'll do it there. And something that is a bug that I've noticed with Logic, and I've posted about it on Threads, and I've actually had other composers reach out saying like, oh, I've been able to replicate this problem. Basically, right now it looks like we saved, right? We press save, that articulation set is there. If you look on the left, you see it there. It says E flat clarinet longs like we saved it to be. We can even go into our folder and we see it there. For whatever reason, Logic will not save that. It will change this title to go back to saying new setting, and it doesn't delete the articulation set. Like I could still go in and load it in, but for whatever reason, it'll go back to new setting, and it's so frustrating. So the temporary solution that was found was, even though it says it's loaded in, just reload it in. E flat, clarinets, longs, reload it in. That way, when I quit Logic and restart, it should be saved. I think this is an 11.1 bug. I submitted feedback to Logic. I don't know if they're gonna look at it, but it is something that I noticed, and that's just a quick workaround. Have any tips on balancing? I find it hard because the modulation is always different per instrument. That's the thing. It's, because that's always going to be the case. I just, the way I've been doing it is, I look at the gain, and if and you can't really see it, but maybe take a look at the top where I'm controlling the modulation here. Right, I'm bringing it down, I bring it all the way up. Just see what it sounds like with the modulation all the way up. What's its loudest point? Always have your level meter. And again, if its loudest point is roughly around here, then that's fine. But again, with all of that said, I'm constantly going back. Okay, that was the E flat. Let me take another listen to the alto, flute, longs, right? And as long as everything is roughly balanced, nothing is like peaking and going above and to the point where you get that yellow, then it's roughly balanced. But again, actually not again. The thing about balancing your template is that it's going to change. Like as you write, as you compose, as you go through and adjust different faders and settings, it's just going to change based on the needs of the project. But the reason why I like, going here and adjusting the gain, okay, this is a little too loud, let me bring that back, is because I need just a starting point where things aren't so crazy. Like you said, the modulation could be crazy loud for one instrument and then like unnoticeable for another. So I go in and make those adjustments with gain, with the level meter, with, testing it out with modulation. But balancing is, I left the wrong chat up. It's okay. Yeah, it's not an exact science. It's not perfect. I know this is not going to be perfect, but it definitely helps in those weird situations. All right, so I did the longs. Let me do the shorts. Right, this is new. I'll bring you back. Now we're looking at specifically the shorts for the E flat clarinet, and we have 3. So let's change you to tenuto. We'll change you to staccato. All right. Type, no on, type, no on, type, no on. Channel, this is now channel 3. And we'll go back to C1, C sharp, and D. I'll go to switches, 1, 2, 3. I can X out. I can see where it says new setting here. Sometimes if I don't follow this temporary solution, it'll bring it back to new setting. I'll save as Musio, Cinewinds, E flat, but I'll change you to shorts. And because I don't want to mess around, I will load in. See, I wish they had the search feature here like they do in the mixer. Musio, Cinewinds, E flat, shorts. And that should be that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look. Actually, I didn't try out shorts. Ugh. I usually like... See, that sounds very quiet for 3 E flat. That's at its loudest point. Look at that. It goes only up to -20. So this is going to be where I bump up the gain maybe by 5. Well, that's a little bit... It's a little bit more natural. But now I have to blend it. Yeah. All right. So that is an example of the one why you might want to split out longs versus shorts, because if we had just everything in one key switch patch, then the gain that you do is going to affect one or the other, and it's going to be really frustrating. So that's why I like to have shorts, because of something like that, where those short notes needed to get a gain boost. And then if you want to avoid clipping, it's doing exactly this process. It's making sure that you're mixing or balancing at a lower volume. Like, you can always bump something up. That's fine. But if you already find yourself clipping up here, then you're not giving yourself any headroom at all. When you go to the mixing mastering stage, and that's how you get the clipping, and that's, you put in on a limiter, but then it gets distorted, and if you are having trouble hearing what's going on, it doesn't mean you should always just bump up the volume or the gain. You can always bump up your volume on the actual, your headphones, if you want to hear what's going on. That's why they always say mix low. And this is another example. Well, kind of. Notice how I'm not touching any of these faders. I want to start off with a clean slate. Any of the adjustments that I need to make can be done with a gain plugin. Let's see. All right, yeah, so that sounded good to me. What I'm going to do is keep... What's staccato? All right. And then... Oops. And how does that sound in relation to flutes? You know what? I might bump it down just a touch. I think it might... What were you? Gain was 0. That's a little bit too much. Maybe like -2? Hello? No, just -2. I don't know why you're doing this. Normally I can just like type it in. I don't know what was going on there. Yeah, that seems a little bit better. It's not as hot. -2. I don't know what's going on. I think that I might just have to like restart Logic at some point. This is just a weird glitch. And then compare that to this. All right. And what I might do here is bring this down to like 3. Come on. This is so random. I think it's something with my my keyboard. All right. That's fine. I just have to remember to set it to 3. Edit. Oh, it's my mouse, isn't it? Something's going on. Yeah, look at this. I can't do anything. All right. I think it's just I've had Logic on for a little bit. That's fine. What I really wanted to show was, yeah, see, it's like not necessarily registering. All right, so I think I might stick with sustained vibrato just so I get a little flavor when I go to that patch. I might go back to staccatissimo. And what I'm gonna do here is save this as, see, I don't want to save it here because this is articulation settings. I just personally, come on. All right, let me try turning off my trackpad and then turning it back on because clearly something is not working. And let me do the same with my keyboard. All right. Yeah, clearly something is going on. So this might just be a sign, you know, it's okay to end the stream soon. What I would do is just save this as a Musio rack. That way I can always recall this. So if for whatever reason things get messed up, you know, you're not necessarily going in and loading in each key switch or articulation one by one. You just call up the patch that I'm going to save, and then you get this exact setting. Oh, I'm just so frustrated because I was so close to finishing the E flat clarinet, but all right, it's fine. Let me go through some of the remaining comments. Did it work? I saw something show up on my, what did I say this was? -3, right? It worked. It worked. Okay. All right. I don't know if that's going to change the Musio rack stuff, but at least I know that I wanted that to be brought down. Let's try you. Okay. Okay. It works. Sound library. So this is just like my SSD, the gray. I have a Cinesamples folder. This is going to look different for you, but you know, you could keep it wherever you want. Musio racks, Musio template. This was Cinewins, and I'll pick this one. So I'll change you to E flat clarinet. No, I still want the Cinewins. E flat clarinet, and there. So you saw that we had like the alto flute, the piccolo, the regular flute, all saved as a Musio rack. So I can always go in to this button, which is load Musio rack, and I can load it in. Super helpful. That way, you know, any changes you make, you can save it and do whatever you want with it. Was there something else I was going to look at? I did the articulation sets. That's good. I did the Musio rack. That's good. I did some of the panning. I did reverb is just doing the send. I EQ'd it a little bit. Negative track delay, I will worry about kind of all at once. So I'll do the template first. Let me go through some of these messages. All right. Thank you for repeating your articulation, setting, and gain staging. I often need seeing a method repeatedly. Honestly, me too. What's funny is that sometimes I will learn something and I will make a video of it. Like a lot of my old Logic videos, I was very into learning in the moment, but then sometimes I forget. And so I actually have to go back to my old videos to be like, oh, that's what I did. Um, I just am a little bit forgetful and I always need to be, shown something over and over. Um, let's see. Is Musio an orchestral plugin? This is actually my first time hearing this, and I'm like, ooh, right, because producer, Musio is orchestral first. Like they are made from a company called Cinesamples, and they're known for doing like orchestral sound libraries, like Hollywood sounding, like Cinestring, Cinebrass. Um, but with Musio, they are actively trying to branch out, and they're including like a ton of. Let me go to the catalog. So right now this is just orchestra, right? But one, we have choirs, we start having harps, we start having like percussive instruments, world, still a little orchestra, but collision impact. This is great for impacts, hits, and textures. You start getting more like colorful stuff. Back to orchestra a little bit. But here we start getting like soundscapes, and here we start getting, more machines and like synths and stuff. They are definitely trying to make this a central hub for any type of musician, and that's why I really like them. So if you want music, so I am an affiliate with Musio. So like if you were to try out Musio through the link in the description of the live stream, you could test it out and it helps me. But again, this is not sponsored. Like they're not sponsoring me to do this live. I just really like Musio, and I have a good relationship with them, which is where the affiliate comes in. But I do have that link if anyone's interested. And then John said, are you adjusting the gain based on the maxed out modulation? Basically, yeah, I keep expression up all the way because that's just what it's going to be. Modulation, I just like to play around with because, like I said, I'm not going to write with my modulation maxed out all the way. You're going to get a lot of buildup, like feedback, if you do that, and you'll probably get a false sense of like the meter. So if everything is all the way up and I did legato or something, where'd the meter go? Maybe I don't want, like, I'm trying to think of a good example. I guess maybe flutes. I don't know why it keeps going underneath. Come on. Right, already, that's two notes maxed out all the way. So like I would naturally explore, I would naturally bring it up, bring it down. But if I was writing, that's not realistic, So I might bring it down, then I might bring expression down a little bit. And I see that it's nowhere near what it was maxing out at because I wouldn't write that way. If that makes sense, I want it to be a natural. Yeah, so it roughly goes up to around like -16, which is fine by me. And even if I do 2, I think at that point when I start introducing multiple notes, or I guess technically 2 flutes, that's when I would start really adjusting and playing with the expression as well. That way it's not overdoing it. But that's just a way to write. Uh, Other than that, I feel like, did I really go for 2 hours? I can't believe that. Okay. Basically, what we did, I just want to recap. That way you know exactly what we're doing all the way through. Um, I brought in I duplicated that track. I created a new instrument, right? This is specifically my E flat clarinet. I did it for legato. I did it for longs. I did it for shorts. Um, I made sure that I routed everything and I double checked appropriately. Reverbs, panning, gain staging, EQ, uh, and then I created the articulation set. And then once everything was said and done, I took a look at what I wanted to be saved. So I went to legato. I double checked this. I double checked this, and I set it so that the articulation that I want is the default. And then I saved it as a Musio rack. That's that. And I'm gonna do this. I kind of was working on clarinet before the stream just because I was waiting for the stream to happen, and then we kind of skipped over it. But I just wanted you to see what it looked like from scratch. So I'll go back, do clarinets. I'll go back. Maybe in the next stream we'll start off and actually dive into the contrabass clarinet, the bass clarinet. Was there an alto? Was there not a contrabass? I don't know. We'll look at all the different clarinets, and then we'll move into the bassoons, and then hopefully explore the ensembles. Extra type of winds, whistles, pipes, and then take a look at world winds. And that should be it for the winds. I'm hoping that I get a little bit faster with all this. Maybe on my own time, I might just do like the Cinewind stuff on my own. That way it's exactly what we just saw. And then that way when I go live again, maybe I'll start with bassoons, or maybe I'll start with ensembles. I don't know. I'm figuring it out as I go along. Yeah. So all that said, thank you all for being here. I know I went extra long today. I was not planning on doing 2 hours. But I'm really happy that people showed up. I'm happy that, hopefully you're getting something out of this. Yeah, Chaz, this is definitely going to be a series. I mentioned it before. I'm just super slow with things, and it's going to be impossible for me to do like an entire in-depth thing in one go, because it's clearly going to be a monster, but hopefully a manageable monster. Yeah, so that's that. I will see you all in the next one, hopefully. If not, you can always check the replay when that goes up, and try building your own. Like I said, you could check out the free Musio template that I have in the description. If you want Musio, try it for yourself. You can also try that out in the description. But yeah, I'll alert everyone when the next live is. All right, see you next time.